Okay, everybody, what's up? This is Brandon from 13 Market Moves coming at you one more time, and we're going to be talking about YY, which reports earnings November 16th, 2020, after hours. Now, just a little bit about YY. It's changed their name in 2019 from YY.com to Joy, and basically it's the Chinese version of Twitch and some of the more of the short form video sharing platform, and it's kind of a combination of YouTube, Twitch, and everything else in between. And one of the great things about this is that it has the reach of the large Chinese market segment. However, a lot of the Chinese stocks right now, because of the current administration's relationship with China, is under pressure simply because of the crackdowns or the perceived retaliations and things of that nature. And so, because they're under pressure, we want to go over some of the scenarios and how to trade this earnings report. And our research points to the following. Okay, so let's do this. Now, couple of things. As far as the YY earnings go, generally they report pretty decent earnings. They'll usually beat their earnings and they'll usually guide higher, but really all of those things don't really matter other than the subscriber or the user base growth. And that really is going to determine whether the stock is going to go down or continue to have that upward momentum. What I mean by that is that in August 12th, which was really the Q2 of this year, they reported blowout earnings, right? This is really, really great, and they even guided higher. And as we'll see on our macro daily chart, comparing the earnings and the percentage moves, it popped a little bit and then it started to sell off. And that's a common theme with this stock. Again, what really matters is their subscriber base growing, much like Netflix or Facebook or whatever. It's because it's ad driven and user driven, but really it's the advertising platform that generates revenue for these type of stocks. So the main thing that I want everyone to understand is that we have to make sure that subscriber growth or eyeball growth is growing. I think really the earnings growth and revenue beats and all these things, they generally will, to the extent that you can trust the Chinese companies to report factual earnings. But then again, let's not get into that right now. But basically, the issue is that estimates are always being beaten. But one of the things that I noticed also is that when you look at from the last Q2 growth from here to here, we saw a little bit of a deceleration in kind of the earnings and the revenue growth. And I wonder if that's going to maybe continue on into when compared to last year's Q3, because they are reporting the Q3 earnings on Monday after market close. So that's something that we need to kind of pay close attention to. Okay, so I don't think earnings really mean much. Okay, I think the stock has a tendency to pop and then drop regardless of bad earnings or good earnings, and we'll show you on our research and how to trade this. So let's move on to kind of how this stock has been trading from Q3 of 2019 to the most recent Q2 2020, and how it's going to behave on Monday when the stock reports earnings. Now, let's just do a quick review. In Q2, blowout earnings, we just saw earnings and they guided higher, but really the subscriber growth, I guess they weren't very impressed with it. So this arrow points to right here in this candle right there. So they reported it, and at first, because of the blowout nature of the earnings, they popped. And then they just sold off, and it continued for the next 2 days down. So there is this tendency for the stock to pop even on good earnings and then to kind of sell off. That continues on to Q1 on May 20th, 2020. They beat earnings, they guided higher. Look what happens. So this is reporting after hours. So the next day, it kind of does this like really like a move forward type of situation, right? So it's very important that we learn to be patient and short this at the top and be prepared to carry this for about 2 days. Okay. as a swing trade. But in order for anything to work, you have to understand when the top is. So you got to short the pops, but not necessarily looking for an intraday type of a profit. You're going to have to hold this for a couple of days. And that's the common theme on this stock. Now let's go into Q4, which is March 16th. They beat earnings, they guided higher. Okay, so basically this is pointing to this red candle right here. And guess what happens? They guide higher and they pop, right? They open here and then they come down a little bit, fakes everybody out, right, in this situation. And then everybody probably jumped in. Oh my gosh, it's coming down. Don't get fooled. Okay, you want to give this a little bit of time throughout the day. When you're trading this the next day, just let it run, especially if the earnings has been a beat. It's going to test a new high. And then when it stalls out at the new highs, that's when you short and then you hold it for a couple of days, 2 days. Okay, look at the ranges, minus 14.1. If you hold for a couple of days, minus 18.3. Here's an 11.3. This is pointing to this guy right here, the black candle. I didn't include these two, partly because, well, I just wanted to show you on this black candle. But you can hold it for a couple of days to get these, like on the average, about 14%. Now, on the Q3, November 12th, 2019, they beat earnings and guided higher again. Okay, so that's this little candle right here. The next day, what happened? It basically gapped up, went a little bit higher, and then this is where you shorted, and you shorted this thing down. Again, continuation for, in this case, 3 days, right? But again, you don't want to be a pig, but 2 days of holding is sufficient. There was approximately for down to here. I moved these bars out because I didn't want it to block the candles here, but we're really measuring up to the second day right here. So here's day 1 shorting, here's day 2. I mean, you could have held it for a couple more days, but we got to chase other opportunities, right? But 12.3%. So this stock can give us pretty decent range if we're right. The trick is to not get faked out, not to jump in, let the moves happen, and then understand when it stalls out and where the tops are. So basically what we want to do is make sure we don't get faked out. So if it's a good earnings and then they sell off initially, wait for a bounce. Okay, wait for the bounce. Sometimes it just pays to wait, because in this situation, if you don't get in at the top, you're going to lose money. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Here's our daily technical picture. So there's no denying this. This daily chart, I mean, it broke through the upper Bollinger Band and had a very bearish candle, a gap down. So it's basically making a little bear flag, right? And there's a black candle right here. So generally, these things will tend to resolve downward. But remember, not all bear flags will resolve downward like this. This one broke up higher. And what I think is going to happen here is that after the earnings, it's either going to gap down and continue down, or it's going to gap down and move up, and then you short the top, and then it'll continue down. Okay, so be very, very careful with the stock, because it has a tendency to pop, and then you drop. Okay, but really, here's a death cross. Here's a CCI breaking the 100 level. Now it's basically in not in an oversold condition, but it's basically at a point where if it wants to, it's going to continue its bearish move downward. There's a lot of room here. If it can get past this 9101 level, I mean, there's a lot of free space down here that it can move down to. So that's the daily. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly is super bearish. Okay, so basically there is a RSI negative divergence. Okay, and the way we look at this is when we look at the peak corresponding to that, and then we also hit a peak, the RSIs, even though this is a higher level, the RSIs are in a downtrending region. Really at this R2 pivot level, or the resistance level, it rejected and it sold off hard on Friday. And then this little arrow is pointing to the fact that it breached above the Bollinger Band level. Every time the stock does that, we have a tendency to sell off. Okay. Now, the only thing is that this MACD, it's not confidence inspiring. I think it's going to start forming a death hook probably on Monday. I kind of want to see this pop back up, and then it's easier to short it that way. On the weekly, basically the CCI is in an overbought territory, so it's actually a great area to short, because really there's not going to be a lot of impetus for this to go higher, partly because, I mean, what's the catalyst here? It seems to me that the subscriber growth and the revenue growth might be slowing down a little bit. One could make an argument that the pandemic is causing this, them to maybe have a higher degree of subscriber growth and revenue growth, but we didn't see it in Q2. So our bet is that it's going to continue downward. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so let's compare the Q3 back to 2017. This is 2019, November 12th, 2019 was when they reported earnings after hours. And then you can see that they reported great earnings. And then so they basically gapped up, went higher, and it stalled out, and you short the top. And if you just wanted to do an intraday, I mean, this is a pretty significant candle, right? If you shorted the top, you can hold for 3 additional days in this example. But if you held for day one, the range is about 69.1 to 62. So that's a pretty decent range. If you held it through day two, then it's going to be 69.2 to 60.5. And if you held it through the rest of the 3 days, 69.2 to 59.2. The question is, can you hold for that long? For me, if you have a lot of profits and you're just playing the earnings, you can probably hold it for, on the average, like 2 days. And that's kind of the recommendation for this stock. If you can catch the top and you can short this, regardless of how the earnings are, you can make a lot of money shorting this. Okay, so the other thing is on the YY Q3, November 12, 2018, here's the earnings after hours, and then look what it did. Again, it opened, right? It finished below here. It gapped up a little bit higher and then decided to run up. As long as you don't get faked out and you can time that top, you short the top, here's the range, and then you sell it, okay? You get out by about 11 a.m. and you'll be good, because otherwise it ran up higher. Now, there is an opportunity a few days later, but, by this time we would have moved on. Move on, be happy with your profits. Don't be a pig. Okay, so let's move on to November 14, 2017. This is the Q3 earnings. And this one is like really decent earnings, but they guided higher. But the main star of the day was the subscriber growth. I mean, it skyrocketed. And so, you know what? If this is the evidence that if their subscriber growth or however they calculate their growth and user engagement, that's what's important. So if you have a situation where subscriber growth or user engagement is higher, then this is going to just gap and go. Okay, so it just gapped up a little higher and it just went up higher, and then for the rest of the day it moved higher. So what do we do here? So how do we trade this? Okay. We know that YY is technically bearish, right? It is bearish. There's no denying this. It's in a bearish position, okay, both daily and the weekly, okay? There's a bear flag forming on the daily, okay? YY has a history of popping higher temporarily and then reversing, so it's very, very important that you be able to have the patience to short the top and understand how to trade that. So this is a little bit more technically challenging. Or if they pop and then it stalls out within the first 15 to 20 minutes of the market open, well, then there you have it, okay? Here's the caveat, though. Pay particular attention to their subscriber growth. If they're super bullish, this is going to probably gap up and go, okay? And so the only way to trade this is on the call side. You got to be patient, okay? Please be patient, and then understand your levels, and then understand when the stock is stalling out. You want to wait for a pop intraday. Even if the stock gaps higher, if you can time the top, then we can get an average of about 12.7% move, at least this year, right? This is a fast mover. And so if you can time that, you're going to make very, very good, decent returns, okay? Now, I want you to also pay particular attention to the viewership and subscriber growth. Again, this is the same thing, subscriber growth that I was talking about. If it's perceived as bullish by the analysts and the community, or the stock market, not community, that's the cue for the stock to move higher. So in that case, you have to buy calls. Get rid of your bearish bias. If they are like blowing away user engagement, then forget it. This is going to gap higher. And especially if the market is bullish. And it has been the last week. It's been a weird market. So we put at 82% probability that we'll get a pop. Okay. We'll get a pop, and then you short the bounce. And that's the play. Okay. The expected move is about 11.5 points. And expect an average of 2 days of continuation, meaning that hold the day one after earnings and then hold through day two and then get ready to get out. Okay. Now, you want to basically, bottom line is short the bounce. You want to be patient. You want to know when it's stalling out. It has a high tendency to do move twos, okay? But you saw also that it has a tendency to do something like a move four on the first day. In that case, if we go back to that, if it basically opens up here and then starts to sell off and then stalls out and then recovers and goes straight up and then closes at the highs of the day, that's where you want to short it, okay? Because more often than not, unless the subscriber growth is great, the next day it's going to be selling off. So you got to be patient, okay? So this is going to be a little tricky, but it's going to have a really good payoff. Okay, so if you have any questions about this, if you don't know what the market moves, if you don't understand my move 2 or move 4s that I talked about, or if you generally want to know what kind of strike price on the put side or call side, if you have any of those questions, click the link below, schedule a 20-minute consultation with our senior traders. We'll be waiting for you. Okay, so good luck, everybody. I hope you make a lot of money. Let's rock.
Do you know what is actually the best day of the week to day trade and why? I'm about to show you something that most of day traders don't even dream about, and what all the trading gurus, coaches, and experts think is absolutely impossible. Now, the reason why they think that is because they all learned the same courses on trading, like basic stuff like trade the trend, guys. That's not gonna make you any money. So if you're tired of your account going nowhere, if you're tired of losing money, pay attention. Now, I'm super busy trading, so I'm actually gonna have Monica walk you through details. Now, all the experts will tell you, don't trade on Fridays. Why? Because they've been taught and conditioned to think that. Because they don't know the secrets that I know. I'm about to reveal to you that exactly the opposite is true. The only day you want to day trade is on Friday. Check out some of my recent Friday trades. 1,000 to 4,300, 2,000 to 26,000, 2,000 to 53,000 day trading, 4,000 to 63,000 day traded, 4,000 to $144,000 in under 8 hours day traded. The reason why they don't think this is possible is because they don't know what I know and what my students know. Now check out my students. 195,000 in day trading profits recently. 356,000 in trading profits recently. If you've been going to countless webinars trying to learn how to trade, if you've been taking courses where everybody's teaching you the same stuff over and over again, no wonder why your account is stuck. No wonder why you're trading this stock, guys. If you're tired of sales pitches, countless webinars, and all the same stuff that everybody's trying to teach you when it comes to day trading and swing trading, let me show you how real trading is done. Watch me trade live right now, 4K to 63K in under 9 hours. All trades are triple verified by independent agencies. Stop wasting time doing the same thing over and over again. Stop the excuses. This is real. This is possible. Let me show you how you can learn the formula that can allow you to trade like this. If you're ready to take your trading game to the next level, let's roll. Click the link somewhere around this video. Click the button somewhere around this video and watch now or forever regret not knowing the secrets that could have finally taken the trading game to the ultimate victory in the Super Bowl of trading. Let's roll. Ready to take your trading skills to the next level, guys? Let's do this. I'm gonna have Monica take it over from here. On the next page, make sure, don't be shy, say hi to Monica. She is ready to reveal the secrets of trading like a rock star. Just click the watch now button. Be nice to her. Don't be flirting now. Click the Watch Now button and let the show begin.